Hello, all. Welcome, welcome. My name is Anna Raful. I'm your host of At This Stage, presented by Camp Broadway. With our friends at Streamable Learning, I am live to you from New York City to connect you with Broadway performers, Broadway professionals, both on and off the stage, connecting them to you, our students, our teachers, our friends, and our families. So excited you've chosen to spend the next 35 minutes or so with us. And like I said earlier, if you have those questions for our guests today, go ahead and put them in the Q&A function, and I promise to get to as many of them as I can in our short time. I'm so excited to introduce you to our guest today, and I am kicking myself because I don't want to mess up your last name, Amanda. So Amanda Lea LaVergne?
Yeah.
Huzzah. Okay, good. All right, good. Before we get to Amanda, I want to read you a little bit of Amanda's bio so you know more about her if you don't already. So Amanda is a New York-based actress who's appeared on Broadway in Annie. I don't know if you know that show. The People in the Picture, and Grease, another not well-known show. Her off-Broadway credits include This One's for the Girls, Loveless, and Loveless, Texas. And regionally, she has starred in Crazy for You, Anything Goes, Nice Work If You Can Get It, Singing in the Rain, Shout, Gypsy, All Shook Up, Little Mermaid, Beehive, and a Chorus Line, just to name a few. Amanda has also toured the U.S. with Crazy for You, Hairspray, and Disney's High School Musical. And she's also appeared as Mrs. Claus in the Radio City Christmas Spectacular and originated the role of Campbell in the world premiere of Bring It On, the musical. Amanda recently made her Australian debut alongside Anthony Warlow in Jekyll and Hyde. Welcome, Amanda. Thanks for joining me today.
Thank you so much for having me.
How are you? Where are you?
I'm in New York. I'm up in Harlem. So.
Oh, we're neighbors.
Oh, yeah.
We could have done it side by side in a parking bench. There you go, with masks. Yeah. Oh, that's true. So before we get started with everything you're doing now, take us back to the beginning. How did you get your start in? How did you get interested in theater? Were you involved as a kid?
I was not involved as a kid. I'm from a tiny town in Southeast Texas, so it's all football. But my mother had a grand love for movie musicals, and once I saw Singing in the Rain on VHS, I was hooked, and was never turning back.
And so did you start with dancing? Did you start singing? Did you perform it in the high school?
I started with dancing. Like I said, there's not a lot of options. There weren't a lot of options for the theater at home. The closest big city is Houston, and it's still a 2-hour drive. So, but I did start off like a dance academy. And then in high school, I was in the drama club, and we did plays. And then I went off to college with the idea that I was going to do, I really wanted to come to New York and be at NYU, but that was not going to be an option for financial reasons. So I went up to Sam, which is just about 45 minutes north of Houston.
Okay.
And was in school for about 3 semesters, and then I booked my first show and left and finished my degree correspondence-wise.
Oh, you finished while on the road, or
yeah.
with the show? Wow, that's fantastic.
Yeah.
Really quickly before we leave it, when you started dancing, did you study a specific technique, or did you sort of cover everything?
I kind of covered everything. To be part of like the competition team, or to do, if you wanted to take tap or jazz, you had to take ballet. Like, so everyone had to at least take ballet to get to be at the studio. So I was trained in ballet, lyrical, point, and tap, jazz. Way before like contemporary was really a thing, or modern was really a thing. Sure. When it was
jazz. Still jazz. Yeah.
Just jazz.
Right. Just jazz.
Yeah.
So then you went to college. Did you enjoy your time? Did you feel like it wasn't quite for you? What was your experience like? We've had so many, I think, I love that you tried it and then your path took you somewhere different.
Yeah, I'm a book nerd, so I actually love the structure of school. It just wasn't, trying to think of the best way to put it. It was not the ideal place for me. It taught me that the business is political from the get-go, as far as learning kind of like the hard knocks in regards to getting into school and getting cast in a school show. It's not given. So I went and did like a little summer intensive in Florida for 2 weeks called Broadway Theater Project. And that's how, and they were holding auditions for they were taking the Broadway company of 42nd Street, Russia. They were going to have the first North American production in Russia done in English. Wow. And they were looking for tappers. So, so I auditioned for it while I was at this intensive, and I booked it. And so I went away to start working, but I knew I wanted a degree, and it wasn't necessarily important in what that degree was. I knew that I liked having that structure during a time in which was very in flux, as far as it felt like it just kind of kept me grounded while figuring out the business.
Sure.
You know?
Sure. Yeah, no, that's great. That's great to hear. What was that audition like for you for 42nd Street? Did you feel prepared going in? Had you done a lot of auditions before? No. I feel like there's a good story coming.
They, like I said, it was this intensive in Florida, and I think there were like 300 kids there, or something like that. And these kids had been to New York before. They had seen musicals. They had been in musicals. I had never done any of those. But they were going to hold this audition. And so they told anybody who could tap that they were going to be hosting. And I was like, all right, I'm going to do this. But I didn't have a headshot. I didn't have a resume. And so I wrote on a piece of notebook paper my name, and I put blue halter leotard, and I put my cell phone number and my parents' landline, because, you know, it wasn't exactly represented at the time. And they had us audition one by one, just doing rolling shuffles.
Wow.
And, you know, because in the business, people say, you know, well, can you do this? And you're just supposed to say, yes, I can. And so when asked if people tap, everybody's like, yes, I tap. And you're like, this is a more intense than just a time step tap show. So it whittled down from 300 to, I would say, about 30. And then they taught us the combination, and then they cut it down again. And then they had us sing, which I had never really sung before. And then from there, I sang I Have Confidence. Like, great, shaking like a leaf. Yeah. And then from there, they had just 5 of us at the very end. Yeah.
Wow, that's amazing. With all of that, sort of like, you had such an interest growing up, and clearly with dance, and within high school, how did you, we have a question from, I lost it. I have a question from Nicole, which was, how did you know through all of this that theater was right for you?
I have never wanted to do anything else. I never, even though I hadn't done it as a kid, I just knew that that's what I wanted to do, you know. And it always kind of bewildered me when people didn't know what they wanted to do, because I was like, well, I'm going to go and be on Broadway. You know? And this is in an area where people say theater, so it was just this really strange dynamic of, you know. But like I said, I was encouraged by my folks to, you know, do what I could, and they opened the doors that they could. There just weren't a lot of doors to open, you know.
Sure. So how long were you in Russia? How long was that sort of section of your life?
We were supposed to be there for a year. We got there in August, and then we were sent home in January because the Nordost Theater, I don't know if you remember, but there was a huge theater taken hostage.
Oh, gosh.
For a couple days. So, and we were there during that time. We weren't at that theater, but we were there at that particular time. And so the embassy said it's time to head on home.
Yeah. And then, so then where did your career take you? You didn't go back to school. Did you then move to New York?
I went back to school for about a month.
Okay.
Because this was also my first time ever losing a job or closing a show, which is a very, turns out it's emotional. Who knew? And processing it at the time specifically was really tough. So I went back to school, and then I auditioned for a cruise ship and left again and went on a ship and started working and doing that.
Amazing. So now you've been on tour, on the road, you've been on a cruise ship, you've been in foreign countries performing. I mean, obviously there are many differences between the two. What are sort of a little bit of things you like and things that are hard about those situations?
I find that touring, you really can form a bond with the cast a little bit tighter because you are each other's support system and network. And especially in Russia, the language was so different. The culture was very different. There was a huge difference in people who had been on Broadway, and then the holes that they filled with all these non-union kids who had never really worked before. And so we really came together in a really unique way that can only happen when put in adverse circumstances or in traveling, because your safety net's gone.
Right.
And it's the same with tour and the ship too, because you're kind of just stuck with each other.
Yeah. For good or bad. Yep.
Yeah. But I think that's one of the things I like the most. The hardest thing with doing that kind of stuff is that you're away from family during holidays and birthdays and life moments. You're on the other side of the world, so you can't just say someone else do my part today. Yeah. And you're like, it's gonna take me 32 hours to fly there, so especially from Russia. Yes, that's tricky. So what brought you to New York to Broadway? I moved to New York. I toured with Crazy for You right when I quote unquote graduated from school. I went on the road, and then from there I moved to New York. So that was 2005. And I actually moved in with the girl that I lived with in Russia. It just nice. It worked out perfectly that way. And then it took 3 years, but then I booked a Broadway show after being here for 3 years. So, and which one was that you started with? Grease. With Grease. Yeah. Awesome. That's so fun. And what was that like? I mean, having dreamt of that your whole life, that opening night, that first rehearsal, what was that? Was it everything you thought it would be? It was nothing like I thought it would be. Because what it actually informed the rest of my career is what I am known for in the business is being thrown in relatively last minute, and with little to no rehearsal. And so with Grease, they were looking for to cast two roles. I was a replacement. They were looking to do a medical leave for the Cha-Cha for 6 weeks, and they were looking for what's called a partial swing, who covered Sandy and Patty. So they were looking for two people, and I got brought in for the Cha-Cha replacement. And then when I was there and doing the audition, I went in to sing, and she said, "Do you happen to know Hopelessly Devoted?" I was like, who doesn't know Hopelessly Devoted? I don't know a lot, but I know Hopelessly Devoted. And so I sang that, and what they ended up doing was they ended up casting me for both. And so I was Cha-Cha for 5 weeks. And then as soon as when she came back after medical leave, I moved over to the partial swing track and covered
Wow.
Sandy and Patty. And so my rehearsal process was me by myself with the dance captain at Ripley Greer Studio for 3 or 4 days to learn the entire show. And then without knowing a date that I was going to go on specifically. And then I had I got to have a put in, and it was just, hey, you're going on Thursday. What? Okay.
Okay. I'm there.
Really quick. So there wasn't any like built up feelings. It was more of just like, I need to get this job. And I remember thinking, it's just a different address, you know? And and I don't know if that's a blessing or a curse, but I did keep saying to myself, recognize that you're at the Brooks. Recognize that you're at the Brooks Atkinson. Recognize that it is if you open the door behind the audience, it's Broadway, it's Times Square. Because it's easy when you get in there that it just feels like it's another theater. But but yeah, I had a really very supportive cast, and they were really excited to have me there. So and my mom flew in from Texas to.
That's amazing.
Yeah, and my best girlfriend came down to see it too. So it was kind of everything you would want it to be, but absolutely nothing like I had pictured.
Sure. Do you have any advice for our aspiring artists? What do you think it is either about yourself or skills that you have that you're able to be put in this position of picking things up so quickly? What are some tools, of things that can help them in the same way that you clearly are skilled at being able to do that? It's such a good skill to have.
Well, I think being a perpetual student has been super helpful in regards to that. I've never been one that said like, I can't do that, so I shouldn't even try it. So I feel like when people, I don't have all of my eggs in one basket. It's not like I just dance and I'm the best. I'm not the best dancer in a room. But when it comes to kind of being a jack of all trades and putting my finger and trying different things, trying different instruments, like I've tried juggling before, not good at it. I was a cheerleader in high school, and that was overwhelmingly so helpful when I auditioned for Bring It On. And I did gymnastics, which when I was doing it as a kid, that was never, I didn't think, oh, well, this amazing toe touch is going to help me in my career.
Right.
But it's just, I feel like just kind of saying yes to opportunities that present themselves, even if it might not be in the position you ideally want, but if it's a position to learn. So being an understudy numerous times and having to learn multiple tracks made it to where when I had to take over really quickly, or when I had to fly across the country to do a show I hadn't done in 3 years with a 2-hour rehearsal, things like that, I have that skill set of going, I know what's important and I know what matters. And I have the skill set of saying yes already.
Yes. So important, especially it's so important to just say yes to these opportunities that come your way if you can.
Yeah.
I lost my train of thought. Oh, you started talking about Bring It On. So how did that opportunity come to you? And what's the world premiere here? The world premiere in Atlanta?
Atlanta. Yeah, we did a workshop here in New York in the summer, I think. And then we went down to Atlanta in December, and we were going to be there January, February. And I had auditioned. I wanted desperately to be seen as one of the roles, but I wasn't. But they cast me as a character who was essentially, if you know the movie, was Big Red. She was like the reigning head cheerleader who at the beginning of the movie passes the baton. So I was cast as that, but then I covered Campbell, Ava, Schuyler, Kyler. Right?
Right.
And then 2 days before we were supposed to start tech, we had Universal Pictures came to the run through, and our girl who played Campbell had a really bad tumble session and she broke her foot in multiple places. And the thing with big movie producers, they were like, we still want to see what the rest of the show's supposed to be. And the next morning, I was thrown into the role, and it premiered with me as Campbell. And it was, thankfully, and I have this lovely story with a guy, his name's Ephraim, who is about to be Michael Jackson in the Michael Jackson, but he was in Bring It On with me, and I didn't get a chance to rehearse, really, because we had 48 hours and we were teching with a cast that half people had never even been on a stage before.
Yeah, right.
And so we were doing all these big stunts and stuff, and I'm flying around, and I remember we had to do this stunt where I got tossed up to him, and I was supposed to land on his forearm, and he was going to catch me this way while he was standing on top of people.
Sure.
Naturally. And so I was so terrified, and I looked at him and I said, you promise you'll catch me? And he said, I will catch you if you promise not to freak out. And I just had this moment where I thought, I'm going to be fine. I'm going to be fine. But because I had cheered in Texas, and because I had done gymnastics, and because I had kind of said yes to all of that stuff that was accessible to me when I was younger, it was in my body of kind of knowing the basics of that.
Right. Amazing. I have a couple of questions I want to get to here. Well, I have a question from an anonymous attendee, but what did you eventually get your degree in? Because you said it wasn't necessarily in theater.
No, I ended up getting it in theater.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I got it in theater. I just did most of it correspondence. So yeah, I just mailed in stuff. One of my classes, they gave correspondence-wise, they were able to give me the theater credit because I kept a diary while I was in Russia of rehearsals, because I'd never been through a rehearsal process of costume fit. I just kind of kept a diary of what life was. And I turned that in at the end of the semester for my grade.
That's so cool.
Yeah.
So great.
Yeah.
Nicole has a question. Have you ever done film or TV work?
I have dabbled in it. It's a weird world where film and TV, if you have musical theater credits, it's a little harder for them to kind of take you seriously. I'm not 100% sure. I've talked to my agent multiple times about trying to get involved with it, but there's also the golden handcuffs of musical theater where, like, when you're working and you're doing shows, it doesn't necessarily lean itself off to a ton of time off to really invest. And I know that with TV film, like last year, one of my big bucket lists was to get a film reel put together. And so I went and got that done, and I've been taking classes, and I just haven't quite got my foot in the door. I've done some like a insurance commercial, and I've done a running jacket commercial.
Ooh.
Yeah, but other than that, like, it's been really hard to break in, and
yeah.
I don't know what piece of the puzzle I'm missing exactly, but
yeah, but you keep working at it.
Yeah. Still take class. It's a very different medium. I mean, talk about an adjustment to what I'm naturally inclined to do, but yeah.
I have a question from Sarah. You clearly have done a lot of dance-heavy shows. What do you do to keep yourself in shape? How, especially on the road, what you do sort of in your daily life?
So my side hustle is I'm a running coach. So I actually have I've done about 15 marathons.
Wow.
I run a lot, and it was one of the best ways to see the country when I toured. Almost every hotel front desk will give you advice on where to run as far as what to see. And as long as I felt safe, I would go and run. And that's how I also learned to my stamina for if I needed to go on as an understudy, because I knew the nerves would get me. if I had to be thrown on. So I run and I recite lines. I run and I sing. I run so that I constantly have a stimulus of information, but I'm able to still go through my dialogue so that I know that if I'm in a show and that's the only focus that I have to do, I'm going to be set, especially as an understudy, because you don't get a lot of rehearsal to do that, you know. But yeah, I run a lot.
I like that. I've just started.
It's cheap, it's free.
It's cheap and it's just absolutely.
Yeah.
I have a question from Justine. The worst. I love this question, Justine, although sorry about it. What is your dream role?
I actually
I do a couple, but yeah.
I get it all the time. So
okay, good. It's
a two-part answer. One, that if it's a role that exists, I want to be the first woman to play Elphaba and Glinda. Not at the same time.
No, switch performances.
Yes.
Yeah, great. I got it. I'm with you.
Like a 6-month situation here and then a 6-month situation here.
Okay, I like that.
And then the other part is that my dream is to actually get to contribute to creating a role. Did you have a little bit of say with that with Bring It On? I did. Yeah. Jeff Whitty would come up with the script and he, you know, he was like, "You're not Helena. You're the girl who was originally playing it." He was like, "You're not her. Let's fix this script so that the words are you," because he kind of created her with Helena, which was great. But when it shifted, and I brought something myself to it, he kind of, he didn't like, it's not like he'd like changed the whole script, but he finessed it to where it suited me. And being able to be a part of that conversation was so thrilling and so fulfilling. It was better than any applause at the end of the show, you know, just having that conversation with people who are so passionate about creating something and bringing something to life.
Yeah, it's such an amazing experience. Before I have to leave you in a little bit, can you tell us a little bit about America's Sweethearts?
Yes. So America's Sweethearts is like an Andrew Sisters trio group. And for those of you who might not know the Andrews Sisters, right after World War II, or during World War II, it's kind of like what we think of as the USO. So they went and entertained troops. They had massive radio play. They sang tight harmonies, and most of the songs you would recognize, like Boogie Woogie Bugle Boy and, oh my gosh, Hold Tight. There's just like a million really great songs that they sing. So there's 12 sweethearts. So we have at any time, because we're trios, so at any time we've got 4 trios kind of playing. We have a residency at Green Room 42, which we play every month. We do air shows, we do veteran halls, we do birthdays. It's been a really great way to hone a skill that I did not grow up doing, which is harmony. You know, and they are tight harmonies. And the thing is I don't always have the lead. So singing when you're like, oh, I shouldn't be loud because I'm not supposed to be the melody line. Is that what you're telling me? But it definitely it's a completely different skill set that I recognized as I grew through the business that I did not have, which is this innate ability to harmonize. And I still don't have it. I have to work very hard on it, but it is such a safe environment and to do that in. And I love vintage. I dress in vintage in general. So this is
right up your alley.
Things, all the worlds that I love, just in this little beautiful package.
Do you always sing with the same 3, or no, it switches? So you really just have to know your part.
Yeah. And we have an a cappella version of Danny Boy, and it's literally, sometimes the first time you're singing with them in months is that night, and you're just, you just have to look at each other, and it's cool because it's women, and it's women empowering each other, and you truly look at each other kind of going, I don't know what I'm doing. Or it's okay if you mess up, I've got your back. Because there's never going to be a perfect show. And nothing stands out more than singing 3-part harmony when you're wrong. You know,
not a lot of places to hide in that one.
Not a lot of places.
I think you're going to share a clip with us.
Yes. All right. Let's see if I can do this.
You can do this. I got faith.
I can do this. Oh no.
That's okay. You just got to share with us first.
Did I not do that?
No, but that's okay.
I hit share screen.
Yeah.
It's just not coming up now on my desktop.
Oh, that's okay.
No, it's not. Where did it go? Oh no.
We can direct, people can find you on, it's on Instagram, on Facebook?
Yes.
Yes.
Let me try one more time. Yeah, I don't know why it's not showing up now at all.
I know, we did it earlier.
Yeah, I don't know why
it's That's okay. That's okay. Well, so, and then you said you're doing concerts now, or you're doing?
We have a couple tours on schedule for the fall. Now, the good thing is that we perform a lot of times outside. So as far as being able to maintain social distance, it's a little bit easier for us to do something like that. Also, we have a band here in New York, but we have tracks as well. So we can, as far as like being able to perform, we might be able to come back before a full theater show is able to come.
Sure.
Yeah.
Very cool. I have to ask before I lose you, and I have 2 more questions. You got to perform as Mrs. Claus at Radio City Music Hall in the Christmas Spectacular. I mean, she is like, besides Santa, is like the main lady there.
She is.
What was that like?
There is no words to describe looking out at a theater of 6,000 people. There's just nothing. There's nothing. It's a great hall. There's so much history, and the cast becomes a family because you're there for sometimes 20 hours. But there is something really special about being able to bring that much joy during that season. And there are people who see it every single year. There are people like you who just saw it for the first time.
First time, yes.
And I think that whether you are a bitter, jaded New Yorker who has lived here for, ages and ages and ages, or if you're a kid who comes to see it, there's something so magical about it. And being able to put on that 40-pound dress is just,
Yeah. But here's my question. So they do 4 or 5 shows a day for 6 weeks?
We usually open, it's been a while since I've done it, but we usually open right before Thanksgiving. So well, almost 2 months. It's almost 2 months.
Almost 2 months. Did you, as Mrs. Claus, do every show?
No. So they have 2 casts. So at the music hall, the music hall is open 7 days a week. So each cast gets 1 day off. And so when the blue cast has off, the gold cast does all those shows. And that's usually a 4-show day. Okay. The most I've done is 5 shows in a day. That's the most. And they're 90-minute, and they move like a train.
Well, oh, yes.
And you have 30 minutes usually until your half hour. So, you plan your meals, you plan your rests, you bring light. But yeah, so I would do up to about 35 shows a week.
Wow. That'll test
the high season, the high holy days.
I love that. Well, my last question here for you is Camp Broadway. Our motto is develop your character. So what does character mean to you?
When I read it, when you sent it to me and we discussed it just briefly, I think the first thing that comes to mind is like a passionate, brave gut. And it is something that you say yes to. That is unavoidable to say yes to because your gut says that you should do it. And I think that it's being honest about what you stand behind. So if it is an audition, if it is a class that you're in, if it is about your work ethic, if it's about your studies, whatever it is, that you are honest about showing up for yourself so that you can be that dependable teammate when others need you.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I think that to me, I feel like that's what that resonated the second we started chatting about it. It's just being brave and honest with your gut.
Love that. Love that. Thank you. How can people find you, follow you, social media stuff?
Yeah. It's,
yeah. And about the America's Sweethearts too?
Yes. So I am more active on Instagram. It's just Amanda Lea LaVergne. There is a G in LaVergne. So it's like Laverne and Shirley, but it's French. And Lee is Lea. So Amanda Lea LaVergne. I'm on Facebook as well. And then I have a website, and it's Amanda Lea LaVergne or amandalaverne.com. And I have all of my videos from Nice Work, Anything Go. I've got tons of stuff. I've got all of my sweetheart stuffs on there, pictures, show footage, interviews, all kinds of things.
Awesome. Awesome. And please follow Camp Broadway on all of our social medias, Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, all of that fun stuff. Thank you so much for joining us today. We don't have a session next week, so just keep checking for some more information to come soon. Thank you for spending the time with us today. Thank you, Amanda, for telling us all of your stories and inspiration.
Thanks, Anna.
All right, guys, have a great day. Have a great week. Stay safe. Bye.